Well, hi, good morning, and thanks so much for joining me here in my shop for another round with this radio. And already my plans have disappeared. What? Yeah, I was thinking about the weak shortwave here in this radio, and I'm certainly not about to determine there's a weak component in here at this point. So the next logical thing is to try to convince myself that the radio is properly aligned, or if it's not, affect the alignment to improve it and thereby overcome the weak short wave. Another thing about a radio like this for me is I am scared out of my pants to work on this thing because it's largely working quite well on all the other bands, which means the bulk of it is working quite well. And two, I'm liable to make a mistake here because I'm in the process of learning. Of course, I've never been exposed to this particular radio, and there's a lot to it. And see, what I intended to do in terms of checking the alignment would have been a mistake already if it wasn't for Steve and his email. So Steve, thank you very much. He's sent me an email to try to keep me from wasting a lot of time, and I think maybe it is gonna save a lot of time. So what he's pointed out is that my connection to the antenna here may not be doing what I think it's doing. So let's talk about this. So this radio came to me with the whip antenna missing. Okay, the base of the whip antenna is still here. Here it is. But the rest of it is gone. So something has happened here. Exactly what? I don't know. But I did a couple of tests to make sure this was still connected. First one was an eyeball check. Can you see that yellow wire right there? Right up in here? A yellow wire. That's going back up to the circuit board. So there's a connection from here to the circuit board. And number two, I've made connections with the external antenna where I've put it on, taken it off, put it on, taken it off a number of times. And each time I've noticed that the radio is very sensitive to that. You put it on, you hear atmospheric noises and whatnot, you take it off, they go. But it seems to me, unless you're ramming one whopper of a signal onto this, it's not making it through the radio, which is suspicious. The reason I'm thinking alignment would be the next logical thing to check is because A, I can do it. Well, I don't know, can I? There's a myriad of things in here, and the instructions are, well, I haven't studied them carefully, but I don't think it's going to be a simple matter to even understand the instructions. So that's a dangerous game. If the radio is working well and I get in there and start doing stuff, especially if I'm making a mistake and don't know it, I can take this radio from maybe operating well to not operating well, and I can't get it back. That's what I'm worried about. Very worried about it. Taking these boards out, all that stuff has me in a bit of a panic. Because the radio's already working. If it wasn't working very well, I wouldn't care very much. I could just go ahead, and in the worst case, it would continue to not work well. So I'm really on edge here. So we really need to explore this question of what's going on with this. Is this really done right or not? My quick preliminary look, at the schematic says the situation here is quite complex. More complex than I would have imagined. So I'm going to have to study that schematic much more carefully. I'm going to pop it up on the screen here in a minute. We'll look at it together. But I think I'm going to have to go away and stare at it for a while. It's just some convoluted way of switching things between these inputs. Let's take a look at these inputs, and let's look at the back of the radio here and see if we can't get some hints on what's going on. Now, let's see if this is really, might have a little bit of trouble making the words visible in here on camera. Try a little setting sun lighting here might do it. Yeah, well, you can kind of see there are things written there. I can tell you what they are. So this is the slot of interest. This is the slot that appears to be missing something. Now, when we look back at the radio, look at this circle. Circle and a square. Square, circle, slot. See, square, circle, there's nothing here. Was there something here? Could something have been suspended here? So there appears to be nothing broken. There appears to be nothing missing. And if we look in here, a little bit dark to see because it's all black. But I can see no way to have something mounted in here. I don't see any broken pieces at all. So what is going on? What is going on? There's no switching in here at all. Let's go back and look at all these different inputs. Just make sure I got it on the ball here. The mystery slot. What it shows here is the whip antenna, or it has the antenna symbol there. And then here it has the words int for internal. So it really suggests there's a slide switch here. I think what there could have been was two inputs, one going to the whip and one going back to the radio, and then a shorting bar in here. You pull the shorting bar out, you break the connection to the whip, and at the same time make available an external connection right into the radio, so you can stick your unbalanced long wire antenna in here. So now does that hold up? There's another thing here and another thing here. This is audio. What's that last one? The last one. The last one has what I would call a European style round connector. I don't know what the proper name is for it. So we have three antenna things here, two anyway. So we have this kind of antenna connector. This you know, I don't know what kind of connector is that you commonly find on an older radio like this. And the answer's not coming back. This is a mysterious sort of connector. But I mean, it looks like basically a shielded type connector. So you have some shielded wire going to some antenna somewhere, I guess. Then we have these two, and these are marked, I'm pretty sure. Just look on the cabinet here again, make sure I don't make a mistake. Same way as the slot over here, antenna, and did it say internal? Antenna and ground. So this is a ground terminal. And then from there it's line out and audio stuff. So it's just this, and something missing. So first of all, this radio's got to work for FM. So on FM, it's probably going to have two things. One is the whip antenna operating on FM, and an opportunity to plug in a dipole antenna. And I would guess that goes here. Doesn't say 300 ohms here or anywhere. Does it say something here? No, doesn't say anything anywhere. So that's my guess. Now, what if you have an external long wire antenna like what I have? Now I've gone and just clipped it on here, which is a very common thing to do with radios, but when the radio starts moving up to a more of a communications radio, then often it has inputs for a balanced and unbalanced antenna. You know, this being a balanced antenna, but I'm guessing it's for FM, but we can poke around and find out. So I'm going through this to try to find something. Find an explanation for what the slot is on the cabinet that's got nothing in it. And what about this green wire? Now, Steve suggests there was a switch in the slot on the cabinet, and the switch has been removed and is gone. When you look at the schematic, you're going to see that there is a switch or switches related to this stuff. I don't see any switching things. Now there's another antenna input, what I believe is an antenna input on the front of this radio. Maybe it's not an antenna input. Let's just throw that in the mix here, and that's this thing here. On the cabinet, I think that says, oh, there is a switch right here, DF and BC. The DF antenna. That would be a dumb, no, it wouldn't be that kind of antenna, would it? DF. So I don't know what DF is, but I certainly know what BC is. So broadcast. Why would you switch between broadcast and DF? I don't know. Must be a German thing. Must be a German thing. Maybe we can find that on the schematic. Now the schematic comes on. I downloaded it from Radio Museum, which I am a member of Radio Museum. Oh my gosh, it's 10 pages. 10 pages. So obviously it's one huge, sheet. You need a drafting table to look at, and now it's in eight or 10 pieces. Oh my gosh. Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the first page and see what we can figure out about what is going on back here, because it's not a simple matter. Let's take a look. Okay, let me shrink this. It's zoomed in a bit so you get an idea of what all is on the page. As I mentioned, this is 1 of 10 pages. A little smaller yet. More. There. So we are looking down this area. That's the whip antenna. I'll zoom in again. Don't worry. I'll zoom in. That's the whip antenna. Here's some other antenna inputs here. There's another thing here. So this dotted line probably represents the back of the cabinet. I don't know what you got a dotted line there for. Now, just looking even from this distance, some of this is going to an entirely different place. Okay, let's zoom in. I'll show you what I mean by that. Often the FM antenna is treated quite differently. There's this DF aerial. Let's see where it's going here. Let's zoom in more. Starting with the mysterious DF aerial. Medium wave, long wave, pre-stage, medium wave, long wave, DF antenna. Some of you know what this means, and you're yelling at me at this point. Ferrite rod aerial. Where? Directional aerial. Oh, directional aerial. Pizza antenna. Radio Gono. Okay, Radio Gono. Okay, I'm not getting it here. AM. So this is all talking about AM up here. Down here they're talking about medium wave, long wave. So hey, I'll bet you the medium wave and the long wave are both handled with the loop antenna, the stick antenna, the ferrite rod antenna. So, well, I guess, and so FM, now I would imagine this is FM. Coming in here, that's what my imagination says. It is switched this way, that says medium wave, long wave. Oh boy. So how do you say FM in German? DF? You say DF? I don't see anything here. Where's FM happening? FM way up here, maybe. Way up here. FM. Okay, so here's the FM part. Let's follow the FM antenna wire. FM. So you want the antenna to make it to this pole when you switch it to FM. What switch? What switch is this? There's no switch. Am I missing a switch here? Am I missing, what am I missing here? So there is that one on the front. There is the switch on the front. Is that what this is? Okay, so here's another switch. Medium wave, long wave. Oh my gosh. Being a communications receiver, it's probably going to have, it's portable radio, so it's going to have internal antennas as much as possible, including a whip antenna to make it operate in a mobile sense. Whip antenna for long wave, I don't think those two things go together. They have a loop antenna for the long wave reception. But because it's a communications receiver, it provides a facility for somebody with an even better antenna to connect. Is that what DF is? DF is long wave? Well, that doesn't make sense. The DF antenna is here. It goes through a bunch of switches that have BC. Oh, look at this alternative. BC or DF. Is long wave DF? But they say long wave here. DF external antenna? Well, let's see. So if you switch this to, assumably you switch this to BC, and this will go to BC, it goes nowhere. This goes nowhere. In this DF setting, this is grounded out. So in the, well, this says CB, it doesn't say BC. A, B, C. Oh, those are the, over here on this side, Jim. Come on. Just make your eyes go a millimeter to the left here. So I'm guessing these things are protective diodes to clip an extremely strong signal that might come in here before it gets on its way to the front of something. Oh, here's another switch down here. Long wave. Where are these switches coming from? So these switches, are they all part of that push button? So when there's a selecting button on the front to select a band, is that all these switches are incorporated in that? Would that be the case? So push the button on the front and all these switches are activated. What else would those switches be on the front, except for things like this? You push the button, antenna changes, and maybe some other stuff changes even on the other pages of the schematic. So one of the most difficult things in doing this kind of work, and probably any kind of work, is recognizing what's missing. And thank you for the email again, Steve, because again, recognizing what's missing is really, really tough. So are these switches? It says switch. Is this switch number 31? Is that what this is? No. No, these are what are these? Are numbers on the what? What are these? These are the numbers of the switch segments. This is segment 30, segment 31, segment 28, segment 27. So somewhere there's probably a diagram of these switches. Why doesn't it say band switch here somewhere? It would be a note. It would be a note kind of pointing in here. Oh, directional aerial. Okay, so I'm gonna bet. So it's pointing clearly at this. All this says the same thing. I'm gonna bet, and it's pointing at this. What's this? This is a box. This is a box with these wires coming through it. This is another box. It's calling this the directional antenna. Is there another antenna in there? This can't be an antenna. There's a pile of switches. Okay, let's go back up to the main issue. This one. So here's the whip antenna. It's only connected if H and G are connected. Well, that's not true. It could be connected this way. Straight in. Why is this switch showing one way? This is kind of showing the other way. They're all like that. This one's that way too. This and that. This. Why am I relating these? These don't even necessarily relate. They're all part. They're all back. They're all part of the push button on the front, the band button. So in that case, yeah, you could have this. You know, this is yeah. This may not relate at all to how the switches are actually constructed inside the radio. So thinking about this thing sliding this way, how can this one slide the other way? That's stupid thinking. Even though they really look very intimate. So let's start from the input to the radio. So this has to be an input here. Shortwave pre-stage. Oh wow, they've come right up and told me what it is. Shortwave. Shortwave pre-stage. Does not the AM radio go through this? So what I'm thinking in my head is if there isn't some kind of break in the connection to the antenna, how come it only detracts from shortwave? Well, shortwave is the only thing depending upon this path. This path. Wait a minute, now this is used for FM too. So here's the leak down to FM, I bet. Some kind of filter here where they can peel something off and do something. What? That's a ground connection. So there's a coil. It's transforming it into here, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure. Wow. Oh boy. Another. Ooh. Run away. Run away. So now off it comes down here. There's no way into the radio from down here. The only way in is here. And this DF antenna, which seems to be separate from everything else. So this is how the whip antenna gets to the FM radio. Is this FM? Is this ferrite? Why I lost my mind here? I've lost my mind. Is this the front end to FM? What's the 3 here? 3. Why are there 3 here? 1 here. None here. These are pictorially the sockets. Why is there 3 here? There's only 2 on the radio. Is there only 2? He says, looking again, yeah, there's 2. Only 2. Don't know what's going on there. Back up. So how are we going to figure out if this is done right? What I think has happened, I think Steve is right. Somebody's taken away something from this radio, maybe this, and then they've tried to make a straight connection, a permanent single wire connection from the antenna, straight, I would assume, to here, which would be the short wave. Which is why when I connect here, it doesn't work, because whatever they did didn't work, because they hooked up the antenna to the wrong terminal. Now it still work with a super strong signal because it's just blasting its way into the radio anyway. So putting that 9.330 on here and hearing it doesn't prove a metal connection. It almost proves the opposite. That given enough energy in the antenna, you can hear it come out the speaker, it's jumping something. Okay, so like this switch is complex here. Look at all these pieces. There's no way this is missing. This has to be the push button switch. Well, it even has FM right here. Where? So this is the FM. Yeah, I'm going around in circles, aren't I? I know where the FM is. The FM is up. So, so that's helpful. So if this bar were up here, then we'd have straight from the whip, straight through here and straight on up to the FM input. The bar isn't here because the radio's not in FM mode on the schematic. It's in some other mode, and there's probably a note that says somewhere that the radio is showing in probably broadcast. Well, if it's broadcast, then this BC one would be closed. Where did it go? Where did the BC go? here, but the BC is open. Oh my God, the DF is closed. So the radio is shown in DF mode, whatever that is. So not in FM, but in DF mode. This antenna should be ignored. And is there any way we can spot some ignorance here? So in this position, this input is open, right here. Open. Open. So the only way in is through here. Well, okay, so if there's a mode called DF, then it's one of the push buttons on the front. There's no DF. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. What does DF mean? Okay, everyone quickly writing the comments in there, but I must talk a little bit about comments at this point. Why in heaven's name don't I read the comments? Many of you are making comments to try to save me from myself. I know it. To try to help me. I know it. And to try to participate and go along with the repair work I'm doing. I know you're trying to do that. I don't read the comments for 4 or 5 reasons, all of them very valid, but the biggest one is the time consumer. So, you know, I try to do this every day, make a video every day. There's hours into this work every day, and if I start reading comments, I'm going to add hours on top of it. That's one of the main reasons I don't read comments. The other reason, one of the main reasons, is the comments mostly collect late. I'm 2 or 3 days further down the road while people are making comments on older videos. And so often it's water under the bridge and that. So please don't be put off if you realize I don't read the comments. I do occasionally, but mostly I don't, and I'm not trying to insult anybody or ignore anybody, but I'm sure there's been situations along the way where had I read a comment I would have saved myself a lot, and it probably drives you as a viewer nuts, but that's the way it goes. So I'm driving you nuts here. I'll continue on the nuts thing. So we're close to figuring out how to verify what is going on with the antenna, and I believe the way is to find one of these internal points where we know the signal is going into the radio, find that point, hook a wire up to it, feed an antenna to it, and compare what happens at this point. This is probably the point right here versus out here on the stick. So in other words, if I can take a weak signal, a signal that appears weak when hooked up here, but find its way onto here and discover it's no longer weak and the whole AM or shortwave radio has come to life, then I've simply proven that this is messed up. Wherever, whatever it is. Wherever or whatever it is. Maybe a close inspection. We're gonna, you know what we'll do? We'll follow this wire, a yellow wire that's in here, back to this point in the radio, and we'll take a look and see what we can see about all this. Just try to get to understand this a little bit better. There's a few things in doing radio repair that I'm really squeamish about, and one of them is multi-pole slide push button switches that you push the button and like 5 switches are being activated, and this radio's full of them, and lots of European radios are full of that kind of stuff. I'm talking about these up here. So the switches are kind of visible through here, but not very. Let's just get our other camera ready to go here. See what we can see in there. Okay, so this is the antenna, the yellow antenna wire. For you know, one of the questions that's worth asking is, did somebody install this in here? Now, that's a little out of focus for me. I think it's probably out of focus for you too. So let's fix that problem here. I just have to just bear with me a moment. Bringing up the dialog box for that camera. Okay, yeah. Set it manually, do the right thing, bring it right up like this. Okay, let's go diving inside there now. So we'll start here again. So is that factory original? Follow that yellow wire. Follow the yellow wire. Follow the yellow wire. Isn't there a song like that? Okay, so my camera's just about at the end of its run. I can't get it any further in. Adjust the focus now. We'll see if we can see a little more. Well, it does not look like factory work to me. It just doesn't have that look. Okay, let's see if we can see it on another angle here. Maybe in through here. And that view is blocked. Down through the top. Okay, and now focus. Well, it's going right to the top of one of those slide switches, which I've been talking about. I would say it's going to the second terminal, the center terminal, and there's something coming from that center terminal. Now, how these switches connect those terminals as you operate the switch is not straightforward. There's a light bulb right there. There's a neon light there. Isn't that odd? A neon light in the back of the radio. So there's a chance the neon light is like a voltage control device. I think you need about 80 volts to break neon down, and maybe that's what that's there for. I got no idea. Why would they have a neon light? I assume it's neon. Yeah, it certainly is. Well, I think there's a really good chance that that yellow wire is not in the right spot. And do we see terminals that appear to have solder on them? Let me move this yellow wire here. Appear to have solder on them, do they? But no wire. I can't really tell. Is there any other way to get a look in there? There really isn't. Let's go in this way again. No, the best view is just up here, looking down this way. Well, what I can do is I can try to make contact with those other pins with a antenna, and just touch them and see if the radio just comes to life when I do that. And I would guess it's that first pin. It seems to have a little piece of wire hanging off of it, which is gone. Now, I'm going to be guessing an awful lot about which pin switches with what pin. I mean, maybe they switch across the way. So there's another pin. You know, it's hard for you to know what I'm looking at exactly, but I'm looking at something on the other side. Looks like solder has been put there, like after factory type work. Okay, that's the challenge, I think. So I would want a probe that I can stick down there, make contact, including with the antenna. And then which button is this on? This is on this button. This is the shortwave button. I'm pretty sure it's FM, shortwave, medium wave, long wave, something. What's that last button? Hey, this radio's got an extra button on it. Auxiliary. Oh, okay, the last button is auxiliary. Auxiliary, which you have it. So 4 band buttons. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. You know what? Let's just keep the video going, Jim, and do it. You can do it. I have the antenna right here. Here's the antenna. Now I need like a probe that I can reach in and carry the antenna signal in there. Let's try this one. This is just a dentist tool. Practice. I'll be holding on to it, but I don't think it really matters. Practice here. So this would be touching where the yellow wire is, and this would be touching the pin next to it, and the other pin next to it, which has no solder, never had any solder on it for sure. Doesn't really make sense, but we got to do these things. Really. You know, off the yellow wire, there is another wire that runs straight to the switch next to it, to this switch, which is FM. Do the experiment. Let's do the experiment. Okay, I gotta turn the power on to the radio, make sure volume's down. And I think it's turned on. Okay, that's 9 volts onto the back of the radio. It's pretty quiet. Not turned on. (9393). Let's tune it down to 9333. Now that big powerful station may not be there. I got fooled by the high-speed tuning again. Here we come. That's 9330. No antenna. That sounds really convincing. That this is connected to the antenna. Now, I'm gonna try to. Yeah, as soon as my hand goes in here, I'm gonna. Touching the. Let's turn it down a bit. If my theory's right, this will get a lot louder. Okay, what exactly am I touching? So I'm going back and forth between 2 pins on that switch. It doesn't make any difference. So my guess is this is connected correctly. Is there anywhere else I can touch that's going to give a much stronger signal? How about, can I light that neon bulb up in there? Oh, that's not a good spot. So just trying everything. Is there a problem in that? And I don't think there is. Is there a problem in that with the switching altered here, if it is altered, that the signal is dragged down because something is being left switched in that shouldn't be switched in? I don't think so. You know, like this is pretty good behavior. FM.
and bring an end to hallway medicine. And police are searching for 3 suspects who shot and wounded 3 other men in a plaza in North York last night. It happened near Jane Street, south of Finch, shortly after 8:30. 2 of the men were taken to a trauma center with serious injuries. Police have not determined a motive for the shooting. They're asking any witnesses in the area to contact them. The weather forecast now for Barrie Huronia.
It's like it has a directional antenna in it.
Cloud today, a high of 25 with a humidex near 30. Partly cloudy tonight, dipping to a low of 17 degrees. And tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, some light winds as well. A high of 29 with a humidex near 35.
Beautiful.
Peterborough, no Kawarthas today.
Beautiful
Sunny
day
this
coming
morning,
tomorrow.
And a mix of sun and cloud with a chance of showers this afternoon. A high of 27 degrees. Partly cloudy tonight with a chance of showers early this evening. A low of 17. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud and a high of 29.
I'm Nala Ayed, and you're listening to The Current. This summer, we're bringing you some of the best of CBC podcasts. Today, we continue our presentation of Uncover Sharmini. On June 12, 1999, 15-year-old Sharmini Anandavel left her family's Toronto apartment around 9 a.m. She never returned. In today's episode, host Michelle Shepard takes us to Woodbine Junior High to learn.
So what I'm wondering is, how come there's so much directionality in this? That suggests that there's a FM dipole antenna hidden in here somewhere.
Here's episode 2 of Uncover Sharmini, Saturday morning.
DF, dipole antenna? I could be something hidden in here I haven't spotted, but I don't think so. So it's just this little yellow piece of wire here that's doing that. Let's give it a fake whip antenna here.
You recognize it right away?
Now, I'll hold this up in the air and we'll spin this around and see if it...
Sorry, I'm gonna cry. I know. It's okay.
So the meter now is just sitting still. So all that's happening there is, this is a very, very sensitive receiver. It can work well with a fairly low signal. I'm pretty sure it's the yellow wire, that's the antenna, and there's some directionality in it. There's nothing else in the radio. Oh, the mystery continues. So what are we concluding here about the shortwave side of things? We're kind of concluding that we're back to the alignment issue, which I'm not happy about at all, because I have looked at the alignment instructions. God help me. Thought I'd try something fancy there, but now what was that? So yes, I forgot about this other problem, which it just went away. Why? Why? That's actually a worse problem. It's actually a bigger deal. The assumption would be this is no longer in a working state. Let me take the antenna off and see what. So just seems to be reduced. It's reduced. What has reduced it? What has reduced it? This. Okay, I don't know what happened there. Put on the automatic. So usually, with a radio, you can tune past, a moderately strong signal and spot the effect on the radio very quickly. In most radios, it makes kind of a thumpy sound as you go by. And you can, oh, there's a station, and come back. This one, I'm waiting for the thumpy sounds. 15. I gotta stop and think about this a little more. Yeah, I'm stuck with nothing now but alignment again. I sort of convince myself the antenna is connected correctly. Suitably. Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody do that? And if there was some switchy thing, not switchy thing, but terminal thing on the back of this radio, so that's the front, on the back. Okay, so the back of the radio has disappeared. What did I do with it? Oh, here it is. Small shop, you can't do stuff like this. Okay, back of the radio, one more look at it. So clearly something was here because it's labeled. There's definitely something here. Just to the left of the circular piece. Is this a later model and they dropped whatever that is? Because I just can't see that there's anything missing here. And what the missing antenna, what would that have to do with the missing piece? Unless this is all different. Yeah, you could see in a bad accident somebody smashed the radio, smashed the antenna right off of it. But then, and you could replace it, but you'd see glue and all kinds of stuff in here. There's no evidence of any smashing going on. It's smashless. Well, so I got to think hard now about alignment. Let's just look into that a little further before I walk away so disappointed. So these, I'm pretty sure, are access to alignment points. What's down there? So that looks like a capacitor. I'm looking to see if they're waxed up. Whoop. And that's a slug. I don't see any evidence of waxing in there. They don't appear to be locked. Oh my gosh. Is there anything even? What is down there? I don't even see there's something down there. So we got holes here with nothing in them. This is going to be challenging, to say the least. But it doesn't mean I have to start adjusting every adjustment. There may be just a few that can clue me into a few things. One is, does it need any adjustment? What adjustment can I adjust that I'll say, oh, this doesn't need any adjustment? Could argue the IF must be okay because the AM radio is working. Assumably they share the same IF string. Would have to be the front end stuff. Hey, front end. Front end. Part of the front end is missing. Part of the front end is missing. Somebody stole the front end of this radio. And maybe more is gone than just maybe a coil's gone. Maybe, you know, like, back up for a second. Okay? Think more logically. So what are we listening to right now? We're listening to either the hiss of the radio itself, which is not terribly likely, or we're listening to atmospheric type noise or other type noises coming through the radio. Why can we hear them? Because the radio is amplifying it. Why is it amplifying it? Because it works. So why not amplify a bunch of stations? Why only the very strongest? alignment or something way out of whack in the front end of the shortwave radio. Something way out of whack. Now, I don't know if you saw in the close-up, the edge of this board here is perforated. Perforated as if in the manufacturer they could make this board and then for some models they would break off this part of the board because it's not needed. Is that the part where these switches were? Is this a model that doesn't have those switches? Or is this something somebody did? And when they broke this part off, goodbye to some more components which were needed. And because of that, there's an alignment issue in the very first stage of the radio. The very first thing. Fat chance on that being true, but I gotta think something up, somewhere to get into this. Okay, I got enough in my head for now. I'm gonna take a little break here and ponder. Well, I think I have a little more of this figured out now. Not sure it's gonna help me. I think this right here is the ferrite rod. Ferrite rod is actually a transformer. 3 secondaries, 1 primary, and the antenna signal is driven through this primary down to ground. That then operates the stick antenna that's in there, and that's good for long wave and medium wave. But if you have a external suitable antenna for long wave and AM, this is my guess, you plug it in this DF. Now, because this is normally a loop antenna, its output signal is actually quite low, and the radio's got a very sensitive amplifier sitting here, or transistor anyway. And there's a concern. If you plug an external antenna and get the feed to make it to the front of this transistor, you risk this transistor because of the uncontrolled input that may come from who knows what's going on out here, right? You can do anything with this. So to protect it, if you're using this input, then you have these diodes here to clip off any excess signal before you fire it right onto here and blow this guy up. So DF may mean directional. Oh, directional antenna. Sure. Now, why would you want an external directional antenna? Because you get tired of turning your radio around all the time and having the speaker face away from you while you're trying to listen. So you get an external antenna that's directional, probably supplied by the Grundig company. Now you plug it in. Oh, that's why there's a switch on the front. A DF broadcast switch. Long wave 2 switch. They don't mention long wave. Okay, lots of lights coming on here in my head. Yes, up until now it's been awfully dark in there. So, okay, that explains lots of stuff. Getting this figured out step by step. This thing here, this symbol, I would like to think that this is 2 terminals facing out the back of the radio. The problem I have with that is, why aren't they drawn like this sort of? You know, with this half circle thing. They're showing inside the cabinet, if this dotted line represents the wall of the cabinet. So I was thinking this was probably 2 terminals for an external long wire antenna. That all makes sense. There's no other place to connect the long wire antenna except to clip it right to here, which electrically is exactly the same. No switching in here. So you plug in an antenna, it's in there along with this, but chances are you'd have this collapsed and it would amount to a little tiny piece of wire compared to, you know, big antenna out in your backyard. The big antenna feeding in here is probably some form of protection before you get to here, like this might be. This might be protective of this point. Great. Now what? So what? So what? So I can see, I mentioned when I was looking in the back of the radio, I mentioned a piece of wire that ran between switch terminals. This is what I think I was seeing. This wire is connected to here in reality. So it appears to me. Disabling the functions of this switch. Disabling the functions of this switch. Think if this bar is over here, everything south of it is disconnected anyway, so who would care? If this bar were here, and that was the only change, then the antenna would be connected very simply straight through into the AM variometer. This must be the variometer. So variometer is kind of an old device where the impedance, usually of a coil, is adjusted by turning a control that turns a physical coil next to another coil. Changes the interaction between the two coils. This doesn't look like that at all. So, variometer, who knows what they really mean by that. But chances are it means some kind of varying inductor. So this, and this are all connected to, you can guess, more tuning things. This is probably, that's right, we saw there's a 3-section tuning capacitor, and alongside it are a bunch of slug-tuned coils. This is probably one of them. And maybe they're calling that a variometer. On the variometer board. The board of variometers. Well, yes. I figured out a little more, but not enough to explain why the radio doesn't receive radio signals, except the most powerful. Aside from defective components, which I don't want to go to, I don't want to go there yet, alignment could be the issue. I'll have to find all these little things and twiddle them, or more correctly, go through the alignment process step by step carefully. We can take a look at that. So these are the alignment instructions. The bandwidth selector switch has to be set to narrow for total AM adjusting procedure. Sequence of alignment points for complete adjustment. Oh my gosh, look at how many things there are. Holy smokes. One of those is out of whack. Oh my gosh. Alignment, feeding, test point, and numbered test points in there. Notes, exterior max, long wave, alignment point with L, C. What are you doing? Maxing 54.05 plus or minus 100 hertz. What does that mean? Ay. So, yeah. And oh boy. Yeah, like I really want to do this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, some of this would be FM and other stuff I wouldn't have to worry about. But correct A to D position with manual tuning. Oh boy. So one of the issues here clearly is the pre-selector doesn't quite hit the mark, and there's probably, like, automatically hit the mark, and there's probably some kind of alignment type adjustment that'll move that around a bit. Oh my gosh. There's got to be more. There's got to be more said than this. I can't do it with this. What is that? I need more information. Frankly, what I need is more coffee and a break. I think I'm going to end here because my head is really swimming now. and I'm likely to make mistakes. So I'm going to stop at this point and go go away. I'm going to stop and go away. So yeah, I don't know what to do next exactly, and I want to be cautious. Hey, thanks a lot for watching. Sorry it's not more exciting. It's just me doing an awful lot of talk, kind of going around in circles, but so be it. This is what it's taking me to do this. Remember, when you watch my videos, you're not seeing me show you how to do it. You're watching me try to figure things out. Good luck to me. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day. See ya.